G'day, Bomber fans. How good was that? It was an incredible night. The boys proved the critics wrong. They proved us wrong. They put the Pies under the pump, beating them in front of their home crowd. For once, it wasn't us choking a lead against them. It was the Pies rolling over and letting us get 4 valuable points. We stay in the top 4. We get some serious momentum. We claim that scalp we were seeking out. This is going to be a very fun review. I just love beating the Pies. So get your votes in. Role player as well. Let's get into it with a recap of the 4 quarters. The first term, not going to lie, that was a real worry. We started off all right, but Jack Crisp turned into prime Dustin Martin and got his Pies off to a hot start. We kicked the first, they kicked the next 5. We were inaccurate, they were efficient. They scored 7 times from their first 8 entries, and the only thing that made the quarter look a bit better was a Jake Stringer goal after the siren. This second gave us the response we wanted. We lost composure against Geelong, but we fought back into the game here. We not only stemmed Collingwood's flow, but we took the game on ourselves and began to actually score. We scored 4 goals to their 3. We trailed by 8 points. There was a real shift in energy. You just felt that we were back in the game at halftime, and how good did Caddy look in that second quarter? That kid's going to be a star. The third term was a joy to watch. That was just pure Don's footy. Completely and utterly dominated the Pies. We had them scared. Dacos went missing. Crisp went missing. DeGoey went missing. And on the flip side, our stars were starring. 4 goals to 0 doesn't cut it. That was flattering to the Pies. This was as dominant as that final Anzac Day quarter last year. Everything was going our way. We led by 17 points at 3-quarter time, which is never a safe lead going into a final quarter against the Pies. The fourth was just us hanging in. The Pies were hungry. They were always going to fight back, but in the end, we were just too good and too professional. We had the score on the scoreboard to hold on to. We could eat time off the clock if we needed, and we did. A 12-point win. Could have been more, but you won't see me complaining. The win was good enough as it was, so let's talk about it. How did we win this game of footy? Well, as we do at our best, we just controlled the ground so well. We played really on our terms for most of the night. The first term was a worry, and there were times when the Pies injected their chaos into the contest, but aside from that, we were all over them. 129 uncontested marks. That tells you all you need to know. Collingwood had 29 marks in the second half. That 29, that is a horrible number. We didn't drop under that number for a single quarter in the game. We had 279 uncontested possessions, 61 more than the Pies. A lot of sideways and backwards kicking, patience until we found the right option to go forward, tiring them out by spreading the ground. It's more boring than their style of play, but it clearly worked a lot better. We were really efficient as we've been all year, 79% to their 72. But the thing I love is that we were hotter than them as well. Their stars looked a bit scared of contact at times, which is rare. We had more contested possessions. We had more effective contested possessions, I would say, as well. We had 64 more disposals, but less turnovers and more tackles. More of the footy, more tackles. I love that stat. It's hard not to. We not only completely controlled the uncontested footy, they couldn't get their hands on it at times, and some will say this was just us trying to ice the game, slow it down and take time on the clock. But despite all our backwards kicking late, we still had a better disposal to scoring shot ratio than the Pies. We were simply put much better with the pill and much better at moving it and putting it in dangerous areas. The game ping-ponged a bit at times, and that usually suited the Pies, but when it didn't, it meant that we were the better team, the better, more mature team. And the great thing about it is that we genuinely should have won this game by more. We wasted some chances in front of goals. We got off to a really slow start. We really should have won by more than 12 points, and I reckon Pies fans would agree in me saying that. I was nervous late, don't get me wrong, but we were the better, more deserving team of the 4 points, and that is just a great thing to say after a game against Collingwood. The way we stemmed their scoring after quarter time was unreal. 5 goals in the first quarter for the Pies, 7 for the rest of the game after that, but it's the way they got those 7 goals. It was usually from genuine blunders and mistakes from Essendon, which, if anything, is promising. Think to the Ridley turnover in the middle of the ground in the second quarter, or Perkins dropping a chest mark in the fourth, I think it was. Those are obviously moments that you don't want to see as a fan or a coach or a player, but the fact Collingwood were only really managing to score from horrid skill errors, those are things you can't train for because they're so rare. Outside of those moments, Collingwood stopped looking dangerous. Our backline was immense. Hearing the crowd cheer some of those rebound 50s under pressure was awesome, and we weren't just rebounding, we were doing it and retaining possession. We looked so good in our back 50. It was fantastic to see. We kept dangerous forwards down. Bobby Hill looked like a local leagues player thanks to McGrath and Kelly. Myercheck was injured late in the game, but before that he had, 5 disposals. Their only multiple goal scorers were Crisp, who kicked them all in a few minutes, Jeremy Howe, who was a defender and kicked them all in the first half, and Harvey Harrison, who was their 4th or 5th tier forward. I know they have injuries, but the fact we kept their most dangerous players completely quiet and were so good under pressure in their back 50, that was fantastic. It's the best our backline has looked in quite a few months, I'd say. We won the midfield battle. It was always going to be important, and we won it. On face value, it doesn't look monumental. 1 more centre-bounce clearance, 2 more stoppage clearances, but it's what we did with those clearances. We outscored them 46 to 27 from stoppages, and that's the big difference in the game, because both sides were fairly even from turnovers and from defensive half. Those methods of scoring weren't really deciding the match. In the end, it was our ability to get the ball from stoppages or centre bounces and create opportunities from there. And it's pretty evident when you look at the midfielders and their score involvements. Draper, Sheila, and Caldwell all had 7. Merritt had 15, which is just ridiculous. 10 in the first half. That is nuts. The only Magpie to have 7 or more and feature at a centre bounce was Pendlebury. I also thought our midfield just bats deeper as well. Even without Parrish and Setterfield and Hobbs in the VFL, we had 8 centre bounce attendees to their 6. Stringer only had to roll out in less than a third of them because we had powerful mids like Dylan Shield return, who I thought was brilliant, by the way. The 3 biggest centre bounce attendees were all Collingwood players, Dacos, Cameron, and De Goey, and I honestly thought Caldwell and Merritt and even Shield had a bigger impact. Dacos had 31 touches, yes, but only 3 resulted in scores. De Goey had 3 clearances. Cameron was in Draper's pocket all night. Our midfield was simply put better, and that is great because it isn't even full strength yet. I reckon off the back of that, it's a good time to talk about our team and the problem, the great problem we currently have with it, because Todd Goldstein and Dyson Heppel were both managed for this game, which usually means they come back the following week, but gee, it's hard to find spots for them in this 22. You can't drop Caddy, you can't drop any defenders. Perkins is still under pressure, but can you drop him after a win like that? And then you got guys like Hobbs and Setterfield and Sartas all performing in the VFL. Parrish should be returning in a few weeks. There are so many good players not in our team right now, and that is ultra pleasing. I just love that we have role players who we can rely on. Even when we lose, we can't question the efforts of Laverty and Kelly and Hind, even guys like Jones now, or Nick Cox, who was in the ruck for a lot of the night. Gresham, I really like Gresham's impact. 15 touches, 10 score involvement. We have these guys that aren't stars, aren't even close to it, but they are trustworthy, and it's why we're in the top 4. We aren't playing amazing, consistent footy. It's easy to praise these guys after a good win, but they all deserve praise for the year. Everyone on the team does pretty much. I thought that was as well-rounded a team performance as we've seen for some time. It's really hard to find guys that didn't have an impact. I can find maybe 1 or 2, but I'm not going to name them because this is nothing but a positive video so far, and I don't want to ruin the vibe. You know what I really liked about this game, and it was really pleasing about it? It felt like everything we've been criticised, or we've criticised the Bombers for this year, they went out and responded to, or almost everything. I thought our goal kicking was still not ideal, but our efficiency going inside 50, our efficiency in general, it looked like a completely different team to how it did even last week against the Cats. We showed up against a really good team on the MCG as well, something we haven't really done much in recent history. We beat them on the MCG. We scored and scored well. Our forward line functioned. That isn't something we've said in a long time, or at least a long time against a good team. Our midfield stood up when it mattered most. We came back from behind. We had our backs up against the wall and fought against it. It felt like a very un-Essendon-like win. That's modern Essendon. It felt like something Essendon fans from before I was born talk about, back when Essendon were a really trustworthy team. I know Collingwood aren't full strength. The lid isn't off yet, don't worry. I still think we have more to prove. I think the game against Melbourne becomes a must-win now. A loss and there would still be question marks. This win doesn't erase all the negative aspects we spoke of last week or even last year, but it builds a platform for us to do so. If we go on now and win against the D's, win against the Crows, win against these teams that we're playing next, stay this high up the ladder, that Geelong game becomes a blip on the radar. What we can't see happen is a repeat of that match, because then I'd start to worry. All in all though, it's nothing but smiles. It's a really good weekend, nothing but positivity. That was an electric atmosphere at the game, seeing those scars waving before the siren sounded, and seeing Collingwood fans up and leave before the siren sounded, that was fantastic. You can't really ask for much more than that. The media will make this about Collingwood and the issues there, because there are some, but we should really be happy with this game. We were asking for a statement win, a big scalp, and this feels like that. It was a terrific performance, a really mature performance. It was a comeback. It wasn't a 4-quarter one, but it almost feels better than it wasn't. We were able to respond to adversity, come from behind, hold on till the end. Now we just have to hope that this isn't our best win of the year. It's the best win we've had in a long time as fans, but I want more from here. I want us to go out and beat the D's, cement our spot in the 8, see how high we can finish from there, and then look to better ourselves in September. We should be making finals from here. 10 wins now, probably only need 3 or 4 more, seeing as we have our draw, but it's what we do in finals that counts from here, and this is the type of game that will set us up to perform in finals. A big game win. Let's see how we go in these next few weeks. If we keep the form up and keep winning, I think it's time to get excited. But for now, let's get on to the votes. It's a very tough night for it. I'm going to give 1 vote to Sam Draper, who was terrific as the sole ruck. His stats aren't amazing. I was a bit surprised looking at them at the end of the game, but his impact was immeasurable. Even those one-on-one contests where he doesn't mark or spoil, but brings the ball to ground in such good areas. And he finally got that front-on contact free a week late, which is good. Ben Mackay gets 2 votes. I saw some criticising criticising his season for some reason before the game. He's proving haters wrong now, though. That was a monster key back performance. 8 intercept possessions, 6 intercept marks, 6 spoils, not a single one-on-one loss. He had a couple of very bad turnovers early in the game, but 16 of his 19 touches were effective after. And also, he suffered a massive knock in that third, but still stayed on and braved the storm, played every single minute of the match. His positioning is first class as well. He's just a terrific defender to watch. We're very lucky to have him. Thank you, North Melbourne. 3 votes is easy. Zach Merritt, that was just inspirational. He's a beautiful player to watch. His ball use is unreal all night. 15 score involvements. He's involved in everything, but the grit and the tenacity of this guy. If Dacos gets 3 Brownlow votes, we write, because there is no question as to who the best on ground was. It was Merritt by a genuine mile. And as for the role player, it's really tough to pick. I'm going to go with Harry Jones. He's a weird wingman. He isn't too defensively minded. He lets his direct opponent get space, but he makes himself so dangerous in the process in the air. He's a huge target. Big clunks. He drifts forward. He's a gut runner. Covered more ground than any other Essendon player. I loved his pressure, though. He was really hard at it. Tough for votes. Some honourable mentions are Caldwell and Shield, who were terrific. Ridley was fantastic. Durham again. I thought McGrath was really solid. Even Kyle Langford. A lot to give votes for. Leave yours down in the comments below. That's all, though. Cheers fortune, guys. Probably the happiest post-win review you will get from me, unless another one comes in September. That was a great Bombers win. Great night of footy. A quick shout out to Flynn Scramble, who brought me a hot dog at the footy. Cheers, Flynn. But anyway, like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and as always, go Bombers.